Welcome back to the Additive Snack podcast. I'm your host, Fabian Alefeld, and in today's episode, we dive into the realm of podiatry, and we'll explore how additive manufacturing is shaping that field. We're joined by Travis and Nathan, who called in from Australia, from the Australian Podiatry Conference. Travis and Nathan are a innovative brother duo behind the company insoles, a revolutionary company making strides in podiatry with their additively manufactured orthopedic insoles. This episode promises a riveting discussion about their journey, their challenges and triumphs, and their vision for the future of additive manufacturing in healthcare. So let's get going. Travis and Nathan, welcome to the Additive Snack podcast.
Hi, Fabian. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for the opportunity, Fabian. It's great to join you from down under.
Yeah, awesome. You guys are the first ones from Australia on this podcast, by the way, so congrats on that. And let's actually talk about your history, because not many brothers end up in the same business, let alone in a business such as specific as 3D printed orthopedic insoles. So can you tell us a little bit more about how that came about?
Look, it's been a long journey. I've been a practicing sports podiatrist for over 3 decades. Originally, I was making and manufacturing my own orthotics from under my house on weekends, just trying to get a client list, a patient list, and trying to get my profit margins as large as I could. And then Travis started a few apprenticeships, and he had the odd back injury, and I was just getting too busy. And I said to my brother, I said, mate, there's definitely a market here for you to learn how to make these things and create another stream of what I'm doing privately. And Trav jumped at the opportunity. It's not a trade as such. You need to learn from podiatry practitioners. Unlike plumbing or electrician, you get a trade ticket. That's not the case in our industry. So Travis, with his background, he grabbed the idea of how things are made, and he had his own ideas with his background with his other trades. And we started our own orthotic lab called Elite Orthotics, and Travis has been managing director of that company for close to 25 years.
Wow.
A long time, Fabian.
Yeah, that is a very long time. And I'm sure additive manufacturing was not heard of back then. So that was a very manual operation, I'm guessing, huh?
Yeah, back in those days, Fabian, it was all done by plaster work, creating plaster molds, then molding vacuum formers, insoles, bench grinders, very manual. It's still, that process is still done today. So yeah, that handcraft device is still done. I think it's important it still stays around, because I think that's then how you learn how to create a better product in additive manufacturing as well. I think if you don't understand the past, you can board yourself into the future.
Sure.
I think it was an important step for where we are now.
Yeah, and in general, additive manufacturing is just one tool in the tool belt of many manufacturers. It is not a full replacement technology, nor most likely will it ever be. And it is interesting to see additive pushing into various sectors, such as podiatry. And out of the organization that you guys started came insoles, from as far as I understand, a very innovative approach to insoles. Tell me a bit about, how did you discover that additive manufacturing could be interesting for the product line that you guys were working on?
The beauty of Docs is we had these 2 individuals, one clinical, one manufacturing, seeing that 3D printing was the way forward. Some competitors are 3D printing orthotics, but all they're doing is reconstituting rigid orthotics that we were doing from handcrafted. Mm-hmm. So the premise in insoles was to create a full-length, flexible orthotic that I, as a practitioner, could be very prescriptive within the lattice structure of the insoles. And Travis, from a manufacturing standpoint, created a one-man operation rather than a 6 or 7 stepped hand intensive process. So we had Travis's bias from a manufacturing standpoint. You had my bias from a clinical need perspective. And after 5 or 6 long years, we're now commercialising our products. And I've got to say that the podiatry industry's very excited about what we've been able to offer them.
And obviously, Nathan spoke about the differences of opinion. We did clash heads a bit because, as Nathan is right, it's got to be clinical. I'm looking at a manufacturing point of view as well. So I think said it's very important to have those two minds come together, and not agreeing at times is a positive, is you get a better outcome instead of everyone just saying yes. I think what we've been able to achieve is actually using printers to their full capability, not just printing it plastic shells, and we're not doing that just to be different. I think we're doing that to try and make the orthotic better, make the device better for the patient outcome. An orthotic's got to be comfortable, otherwise you're not going to wear it. What's the point? And having Nathan sitting there and seeing and prescribing exactly what he wants and having that flexibility in the device where he wants it, and then the patient being comfortable, it's a real plus. And actually having the printer work to its capability is awesome as well. The ladder structures that you can now involve with lots of different things and making a digital phone, so to speak.
Yeah, and you make it sound so easy. All you do is just print out a digital foam and that's all good.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. We had a few setbacks, which I'm sure you want to talk about, but here we are.
So before we talk about setbacks, take me through the full process chain. There is a patient that walks into your door, and at some later point, he walks out of your door with a additively manufactured insole. What happens in between?
The Doxol orthotic is a significant component of our Doxol story. What we've also been able to do is to create an application for podiatrists that enables them to take significantly more accurate measurements of foot alignments. That app allows the podiatrist through steps within the app to take what we need to prescribe the orthotic. And then the big kicker is we then have been able through AI to create a prescription for the practitioner. He or she does not need to use it, but would certainly peruse the prescription and change it as per patient requirements. And then that prescription is then forwarded onto our lab. Now, it's still a time lag. The patient doesn't see me for 30 minutes and gets an orthotic in 45 minutes. It's not like that at all, but we get them back within 7 to 10 days to have the orthotic fitted. I've been prescribing orthotics for over 35 years. The amount of troubleshooting I'm now doing with our Doxol product is minimal. Previous orthotics, you'd be grinding a little bit here or softening a bit here to get the patient over the line. The tolerance to this more sophisticated product is outstanding. Yes, we're talking about the actual product, but what we've been able to do is to try to, as Travis has always said, Nathan, we want you in the room of every podiatrist in Australia so that we're getting the full outcome, and obviously patient outcomes are improving. So the application is part of our process. It too was long-winded, knocked on a lot of doors. We were lucky to find some Germans who were very sophisticated in what they could offer us. And that's that's part of our product.
Essentially, I might be biased, but sometimes not everyone gets on with their brother, but I think Nathan's the best biomechanical podiatrist, definitely in Australia, probably in the world. He's seen more feet than anybody would care to admit to. Very high-profile athletes. So essentially what we wanted to do is get Nathan in there. So have an actual biomechanical assessment. That's the app Nathan would perform in his clinic room. So that's what the app does. And then the AI is Nathan's brains. What he looks at in the foot, the AI now is just reading. And then that then just through the AI API keys then puts that into a prescription form. And then that prescription form just gets sent to our lab. The next step would be, instead of a prescription form, Fabian, it actually just gets, the orthotic gets designed straight away. So you can actually then design the orthotic straight away from the patient can see it in your clinic room. You can twist it, you can turn it, you can show the different ladder structures, and then you would have to send that on to the Doxol's lab to print. That will be our next phase. And the exciting part of this is just the beginning of what we've been able to develop. We can get better, and that's the exciting part of this.
Yeah, it was super interesting that you really started as a podiatrist and you are now becoming a platform for podiatrists to leverage technology like they probably have never leveraged before, not only from manufacturing, but also, as you just mentioned, from leveraging artificial intelligence and advances that are changing every day and becoming better and better every day to your users' advantage. How do the end users feel about a additively manufactured product?
3D is a sexy word at the moment. What we've seen in clinic is the app is more interactive with the patient. The patient can see what they're doing. The patient can see their lines being drawn. The patient can see the profile of their arch. It's far more interactive. And then when you describe the difference between the 3D orthotic, the Doxol orthotic, being zoned, and each zone you can change the density. See, historically, orthotics are one density the whole way through, hard or soft or mid. The Doxol, I can have a hard forefoot, I can have a soft heel, I can have my arch in three different zones. It's remarkable. And it's that prescriptive power that is getting better patient outcomes.
Do you believe that also means that a orthopedic insole, I would say in the past, was what some people would consider either a luxury item or an item for patients that had specific challenges where healthcare providers would pay for a orthopedic insole? Does this innovation that you guys are working on make insoles more accessible to the broader public and to folks who may have not been in that initial target group?
This was one of the pathways we took. Our initial design was to go from business to custom. So we had an app out in the wide world, and we're only we didn't have the marketing clout nor money to push that. So we unashamedly went back to the Invisalign dental type of arrangement, the see-through braces. You're aware of what that is, Invisalign?
Yes.
Big in America.
Yep.
Yeah. So that company tried to go from business to consumer. All the dentists bagged it and said it was poor. They rethought it. Now they're going from business to business. So Invisalign to dentist, then to consumer. And lo and behold, every dentist likes it now because they're getting a lick. So as I said, we unashamedly thought maybe that's what we've got to do. So we then went back, changed the app, got it a little bit more clinical. And now we're business to consumer arrangement. To say Doxols are for everyone is incorrect. Orthotics, not everyone needs an orthotic. My client list, I'm seeing these days 80% patients with pathology, with pain. Seeing 20% who want to run a bit better, or they notice their young child doesn't walk correctly. So no symptoms, but functional deficits. That's becoming more of a patient type in my practice, more proactive podiatry stuff. But on the whole, no, we're seeing people in pain, people wanting to get best care, and to be able to offer them this Doxol prescription really puts a smile on my face.
As Nathan just said too, when we developed the app, even when we were going from B to C, it's not always about someone getting an orthotic. Somebody might just need, and the app would tell you this as well, maybe you just need a good pair of shoes. Maybe you need to do some stretches. Even though we're in orthotic selling business, we still believe best care is holistic. Like it is. And we'll always believe. We just don't put orthotics into people's shoes that don't need them.
And this may interest you. On that, let's say, general populace app, we had boundaries to say, look, your foot is that corrupted. This product can't help you. You need to see a proper practitioner. So there were three avenues. Look, you don't need an orthotic. You need a calf stretch. You need shoe. Or hang on, you're a bloke that needs an orthotic. Or hang on, you're outside the scope of what we can offer you. So that was that sort of, I always come back to Travis and say, we're medical first, business second. Then Travis said, no, we're business first, we're medical second. It's just this bias of looking after people for 30 years and him just making orthotics and making money.
Yeah. Both gotta work out, right? If you don't make money, you're not gonna be around to help people
Sure.
in the long run. Do you guys have a insole next to you that you can A, show, and B, explain to our listeners who are just tuning in via audio, what are we looking at and what is unique about your product?
Okay, so we're looking at a product that's printed with a TPU from EOS. And what's unique about it is these lattice structures. It might be hard to see on the camera, is that with the lattice structures, that's where Nathan wants to force load onto something. So if we want trying to force load, we want to make that lattice stiffer. So we want to create the lattice tighter, create a tighter lattice, thicker lattice, or somewhere where he wants to unload. So we need to make a softer lattice so we can loosen the lattice up. We can also use different types of lattices, and then you can use a product which everyone would grayscaling. So you get the foot in, and it's like child's play. You paint on the foot and you overlay that grayscale on top of the orthotic, and then press go, and then the lattice just does its work. We've been very lucky to work with a company called Hyper that's helped us with that background of the software. Yeah, we've been really lucky to work. We've been working with them for about 4 years. Everything in this journey has been long. You're talking to software developers that don't know orthotics. You're talking to guys who make orthotics that don't know software. Printing, getting into printing is difficult. What type of printer do you want to use? What type of materials do you want to use? How do they function? All of these things really do come into play. Not a plug and play scenario. We're hoping to make it a plug and play scenario that we can maybe franchise dock soles, and you just need to set up a hub. We tell you what printer to use, what power to use, what settings to use, away you go. But if you're at the coalface and doing it yourself, then it takes a while to work all these different types of lattices, different types of blends, and the R&D process is long. But Nathan will go into a little bit more about the lattice.
About 3 years ago, I've got some feet in my lab, not live feet, but bones, and I was just looking. And then I got onto the idea of true bone anatomy. There's really hard bone called cortical bone, but that cortical bone is still lattice. It's a real tight lattice. And there's a type of bone called spongy bone, which is a very softer bone, more cancellous bone, which is a wider lattice, which made it softer. I got on the phone straight away to Trav. I said, mate, I think we're actually recreating human bone if we can use this lattice to great effect with the tighter cortical bone lattice and the softer spongy bone lattice. And that was a real turning point for us. We said, yeah, we're definitely onto something.
Yeah, you're right. You're actually extending the bone structure into the insole, and therefore optimizing the user experience, feel, and I'm guessing relieving a lot of pain for folks that have been under pain for a long time.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier challenges, and there's no organization that gets into a new technology, not even just additive manufacturing, but you're combining artificial intelligence with additive manufacturing. You have a imagery component in there. You have end user and probably certifications that you need to comply with. What were some of the challenges that you guys came across throughout those 6 years, and how did you solve them?
I don't think the podcast is long enough, Fabian.
I'll let Trav go through his thoughts, and then I'll give you the final catastrophic event that happened at Dock Sole.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, look, obviously the first part of it was developing, which is quite a simple process, really, developing apps. The next process was the AI component. That was quite difficult. Yeah, you got to collect the data first. So going to coffee shops, we have surf clubs here, going to surf clubs, taking photos of people's feet. A bit weird. Sitting outside coffee shops, can I take photos of your feet, please? Yeah, and then just trying to mark everything up, making sure the AI is working appropriately. So that whole process was quite arduous and definitely hit a lot of roadblocks through that time. Printing process, like I said before, that's There's so many companies out there at the moment, and everyone wants to sell you a printer. We fell on EOS because the guys there really wanted to help. They weren't so salesy. They wanted to make sure they sold me the right equipment for what I want. They introduced me to people that could then develop the software that then had the same ideals as us. We want to automate this process as much as we can. I think if you're in manufacturing and you're not getting into automation, close your doors. Because 5 years, it's not very scalable if you're not start automating. I believe in it. So look, working out like our ladder structures would break. So we'd print them out, put them in shoes, and all of a sudden lattices are snapped. So even trying to get the right powder to recycle powder to new powder, that's a challenge. How we orientate the jobs into the machine, that's a challenge. How do you speed the machine up? Not fast enough. That's a challenge. There's a lot of challenges, but that's with any new machinery, I think, Fabian, or any new software.
Yeah.
You always do that. So if you think you're just going to plug and play and walk away, you're not in the right industry. You got to be willing to take on some challenges. But I think once you get there, the benefits are huge. Once you can start seeing what you can develop.
Yeah, as you said, it's not plug and play, and most likely won't be plug and play for the near future. I would say no manufacturing technology is, but the added complexity of, as you said, developing using artificial intelligence to develop an app, data collection, probably on feet and on different ladder structures to understand how do they perform and how do they behave under certain pressures. I'm sure it was a very long road to go down. How about you, Nathan? From your perspective, what were some of the major challenges you guys came across?
As Travis said, we were struggling with ladder strength, and people are paying good money for these orthotics. A good orthotics longevity should be upwards of 3 to 4 years. Once we got that over the line, we created a few prototypes. I'm wearing one of my original prototypes. It's 3.5 years old. It looks spot on. So there's always this anxiety as a practitioner when you've been treating people well with a primary orthotic, and then you're changing this radical, new age orthotic. Your trepidation's there. Is the patient going to come back in a month and throw them at me, or is the patient walking them in? Never a good look when a patient walks in for their review and their orthotics are in their hands. But once we move through that, and as soon as I gain confidence, I run quite a big practice with 6 or 7 podiatrists under me. I then instilled the confidence in that group of podiatrists. And then we started moving forward into the podiatrists that around Australia that already use our lab. And the uptake just started generating. And then unfortunately in February 2022, we had the great flood of Brisbane, and our very expensive German printing machine went underwater. It was catastrophe 101. We mucked around with the insurance for many months. And then we just had to put a stop to the whole project, which was terribly deflating.
Yeah.
Had some terrific help from EOS in Australia. They were very supportive.
I want to give a shout out to Additive Australia in Australia.
Yeah,
Kevin. Yeah, fantastic. Those guys were Additive Australia.
So the
How did you guys
insurance
solve it?
The insurance finally came through. We were $750 in the can. It was a big loss. But Kevin made it happen. We got the insurance money. We got the machine up. We air freighted it across from Germany. It took about 20 weeks. And we just started going and rebuilding the confidence. And the machine now is a month booked out. We've actually ordered a second machine. We're hoping for a lot of uptake from this national conference. We're looking to get another 20 to 30 practitioners signed up out of this conference to fulfill the second printer. And then I'm telling Travis, I don't want 3 more printers. But if it keeps going, we've got the supply demand is there. We will need more printers. It's as simple as that. So that was the catastrophe, but we've overcome it.
Good to hear that you overcame it, and sounds like a very scary situation to be in. I've never seen a flooded additive manufacturing system, to be honest. I've never seen a printer underwater. I actually, if you guys have some pictures, send me one.
I do. The printer was actually working at the time that it was flooded, so we actually pulled some jobs out of the printer.
Wow.
That we were able to salvage. Yeah, it was quite funny. It was, in a really bad situation. That was a humorous part.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we talked about challenges, we talked about the product, we talked a little bit about also how you guys are moving towards a platform-based business model. And I'm super curious, what does the future of dog soles look like? What does the future of podiatry look like? And last question, when will I be able to get a pair in the States?
We know that we're at the cutting edge of podiatry with this new device. You then want acceptance within the profession. I said to Travis this morning, I'm not into blokes my age that have been prescribing the same orthotics. I'm after a new generation of podiatrists, the 25 to 35-year-old who's looking for technology to enhance his or her practice model. That's the type of podiatrist we're looking for in the next couple of days. Doc soles in 5 years. The naming of our orthotic is important. People say, I'm wearing an orthotic. In 5 years' time, I want the neighbour over the fence to say, mate, have you got a pair of these doc soles? They're terrific. So the naming of the orthotic, I think, will give it a bit of credence in the general word of mouth population. To say where we are in 5 years' time, I know we'll be terrifically operational. It just depends on what scale Travis wants to go, because I'm 55 and I'll be retiring soon.
Yeah, look, first and foremost, like Nate said, we want to grow our brand doc soles in Australia. We want to get a lot of credibility in our industry. We want people to trust our brand, know our brand, and know that they've got the backing of us. And then from there, yeah, look, it is a platform, so it can scale. That was the whole purpose of Nathan and I building this, was to scale. So if somebody wants to scale a business, you can scale this. So yeah, that's where it will be, Fabian. I don't know. Yeah. I'd love to be in Austin, Texas. I'd love to definitely get a pair in your shoes one day. But yeah, I think we just want to conquer the Australian market in the next 12 to 24 months. And then, yeah, we'll see where life takes us from there.
Yeah, interesting. We've had a few nibbles. We spoke to some Indians. We spoke to some Southern Californian guys. But we were in that lull with the printer being underwater. We didn't push hard there. We just wanted to get consolidation in Australasia, Australia, New Zealand, get our brand really comfortable within the profession for the next 2 years. I think that's our main goal. And then, the platform's there. If some wealthy New Yorker wants to ring me, give him my number, Fabian, please.
All right. Now, this is a open call for pediatricians all across the world to reach out to Travis and Nathan to leverage your platform and really make the most of it, because it is truly a game changer and it is just the beginning. I want to let you guys get back to your conference. I think it starts in roughly 15 minutes. And I would like to thank you both for joining us here on Additive Snack as the first Australians on the show.
Thank you so much, Fabian. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity, Fabian. I'll see you in 2 years.
I'll hopefully see you in 2 years. And this was the captivating and transformative work of dog soles. Travis and Nathan have illustrated the boundless potential of additive manufacturing in reshaping industries and enhancing lives, really. As they continue to innovate and inspire in the world of podiatry, we'll be here to bring you their stories and those of many others pushing the frontiers of this exciting field. This was Additive Snack, and I'm your host, Fabian Alefeld.